I'm pregnant with your husband's child. I was speechless at my sister's sudden confession. So, I want a divorce. I'm going to remarry your husband, she declared. I'm sorry I stole your husband, a doctor earning $10,000 a month, she continued. Next to my sister, my husband was looking down at me with a serious face, and her hand was tightly holding his. I was so shocked that I couldn't speak. What's with that face? As usual, you're ugly. That's why your husband had a change of heart. From now on, you're going to live on your meager salary, my sister said with a loud laugh, making my heart feel cold. I'm the one who wants to say sorry, I thought, as they probably didn't know. I was laughing in my heart without telling them about my sister's terrible misunderstanding. My name is Jessica. I've been married to Brandon for 3 years. I met my husband at a university tennis club. Tennis was my only stress relief in my suffocating university life, which was full of studying. Since the club was a cheerful activity, I often sacrificed my study time to play. You have a nice form, he said. My husband, who was in a different faculty and didn't seem busy studying, always approached me when I visited the club. I played tennis until high school. I quit playing seriously because of an injury, but you're good at it. It's completely different from me, who is just playing for fun, he said. I can teach you. I think we're a great match, he added. I believed his words, which seemed like typical pickup lines from the bottom of my heart. In fact, I had never dated a man before and had hardly even had a proper conversation because I was always studying. I was completely taken in by my husband's positive attitude. I had no idea of the hard times awaiting me 5 years later. After graduating from university, we got married. Although it would be a lie to say we had no fights or breakups during our school years, I always forgave my husband's sloppy behavior, and our relationship dragged on until graduation. I'm sure I'll become a good husband, he said. How much I believed in his proposal, I wonder now, but at that time, I still trusted my husband. There were feelings from our 5-year-old relationship that lingered. He wasn't a bad person at heart, and I accepted his proposal with a rather light feeling. We both started working. I had a strong desire to work, and my husband didn't oppose me going out. Rather, he encouraged me to pursue my career. With the income of 2 people, we had a substantial household income. Having this much economic freedom at a young age, we were blessed. We didn't have children because it was still early in our careers. We focused on setting up our lives first. I was climbing up the career ladder smoothly and having fulfilling days. One day, I inadvertently picked up my husband's smartphone that he had left in the living room. There was a message from an unknown name. Normally, I tried not to pry into his privacy, but my husband had a history of passive cheating. Back in our student days, he was secretly communicating with a girl from another club. I entered my husband's birthday and easily unlocked his smartphone. I opened the messaging app and was shocked. As I feared, there were flirty exchanges with a particular woman recorded. I immediately confronted my husband. His confused state was like a monkey in the zoo. It's not like that. This was just a lapse in judgment, he said. So, you admit cheating? You had a relationship with this woman? I asked. Well, he stammered. Let's make love at our usual hotel. Kisses. You're not young to send such a message. I read aloud. She is a high school graduate and a newcomer, I added. Summing up my husband's story, he basically cheated with a new female employee. My husband was her trainer. It's a common story, but I wondered what kind of education he was giving her. I'm really sorry. I swear I won't make such a mistake again, he pleaded. In the end, I forgave my groveling husband. This had been happening since our university days. I couldn't help but sigh at my husband's sloppy attitude. Unlike our student days, we had too many obligations. If we were to divorce, we'd have to report it to our families, friends, and co-workers, which would disappoint them. Honestly, it was easier to give my husband another chance than to deal with such troublesome things. I made him write an apology letter. If he made the same mistake again, he wouldn't get away with it. That was the promise. And so our married life continued, barely surviving several storms. One day, I received a call from my mother with the news of my father's death. According to her, he had collapsed on the way home from drinking and was taken to the hospital. It appeared to be a stroke. His discovery was late and it was the middle of winter, so he unfortunately never came back to life. He was 60 years old, just before retirement. I took care of all the funeral arrangements. My mother cried all the time and wasn't in any condition to manage. With the support of relatives and a hollowed-out mother, I barely managed to complete the funeral proceedings. I felt sorry for the inconvenience to my workplace, but my colleagues and superiors never complained. I'll never forget their support. One issue was dealing with my sister. I have a sister 2 years older than me, named Anna. After graduating from high school, she left our parents' home, so I hadn't seen her for nearly 10 years. Her circumstances were problematic. My sister had always been a troublemaker, causing trouble for our parents. She had been involved with the police more than once or twice. Her relationships with men were particularly unrestrained, and she had been involved with multiple adult men since junior high school, some of whom were married. Because of her behavior, my parents scolded her all the time. Live a decent life. Don't ruin your own life, they would advise, but it didn't resonate with her at all. Finally, it was discovered that she had secretly given money from our house to a male host, which led to a huge fight with both of our parents, especially our father. "Get out," my father declared, disowning her. It was not surprising that he excluded her from his inheritance. "I don't even think of you as my daughter anymore," my father declared. In response, my sister retorted and stormed out of the house. "Who would want to come back to such a poor and gloomy place?" she shouted as she left. True to her words, my sister never showed her face again until our father passed away. Even though I had to inform her of our father's death, my mom said, "There's no need for that." But I couldn't ignore my sister. Her cell phone number was still the same, so I sent her a short message informing her of our father's passing. There was no contact from my sister until just before the funeral. If she doesn't come, it's fine then, I thought. Just when I was beginning to believe she wouldn't show up, my sister finally arrived at the post-cremation meal. Her face, with makeup 3 times thicker than before, was a stark contrast to her appearance 10 years ago. "Huh, so you got married without updating our late father," she remarked, noticing that I had brought my husband. My husband, who had managed to attend the ceremony during a break from work, had been timid and meek until my sister showed up. He was not the type of person to handle ceremonial situations briskly. "Your husband isn't bad looking. Did you meet him at work?" my sister inquired. "We met through a club in college. Our workplaces are completely different," I replied. "Huh, you cooked a good one. You were always studying, right? Well, if you got a man with a decent education, that's good. You don't seem to be struggling with money. Since one of us is a doctor, the salary is decent. We both work, but more importantly, you should properly greet our father," I said, trying to steer the conversation back to the matter at hand. "A doctor?" My sister's eyes seemed to plot something, and she may have even licked her lips. My husband, subjected to her snake-like gaze, was simply flustered. We disbanded that day, and my sister, who said she would contact me soon, never did. She didn't contribute any condolence money, and I had no intention of following up on my mother's lament. Things started to get strange about 6 months later. Although the sadness of losing my father had not yet healed, I had almost completely forgotten about the days of the funeral and my sister. But it seemed my sister remembered well about my husband Brandon. After work, I saw a familiar figure near the station. The navy suit was the one I had just cleaned for him yesterday. What surprised me was the sight of the woman next to him. They were holding hands, looking friendly. Again, my husband's bad habits. As the flames of anger flared up, I realized my husband's crime was not just that. This time, I was more taken aback than angry. Next to my husband, flaunting her mini skirt, was my sister Anna, holding his hand. My husband was cheating with my own sister. I blurted it out involuntarily, then decided to follow them. If this is truly an affair, I will not forgive my husband this time. I've been tormented by my husband's womanizing many times, but if it's with my own sister, it's beyond a joke. Moreover, the occasion where they met face to face was at my dad's funeral. I'll definitely catch them in the act. I grit my teeth and focus on not losing sight of them. As expected, they headed towards the hotel district. It was still daytime. My husband was supposed to be at work. I wondered what kind of excuse he used to leave the office. They walked past numerous hotels, glued even closer together. At one of the hotels where they finally stopped, they started kissing. Disgusting. This was the first time I had witnessed my husband's infidelity. Then they went into the hotel in front of them. I called my husband's smartphone after letting the two of them off the hook for a while, holding back my nausea. After an irritating wait, my husband finally picked up the phone. "What is it?" "I'm working. There's something I really need to check with you." "Who are you with right now?" "Who?" "You know, of course, I'm with my colleagues and boss." We have an important meeting coming up. Oh, so you have important meetings at the Love Hotel Jewelry Resort? Quite a flippant name, isn't it? How do you? I also know that my sister is with you. You're the one who needs to explain. Just wait there with my sister. After I had my ace up my sleeve, Brendan's voice seemed muffled and raspy. Finally, after checking with my sister, he informed me of the room number. All right, I said, bracing myself and storming into the hotel. I explained the situation to the receptionist and paid for another room. After all the humiliation he has put me through, I won't show any mercy to my husband. When I opened the door to room 402, my husband was waiting there with a pale face. He was already dressed in a gown, having taken off his suit. My sister wore the same gown and had a mocking expression on her face. The pitiful wife showed up. She started, smoking and showing no sign of remorse. On the contrary, she seemed to be enjoying the situation just like half a year ago. Her makeup was heavily plastered like paint. First, I confronted my sister, who was making a creepy face. Anna, what are you thinking? You knew he's my husband and you laid your hands on him, didn't you? Well, it's frustrating. After being kicked out of the house, I've had a really hard time. I was even abandoned by the host I was sponsoring. I didn't have a single thing going well for me. Despite all that, you live a happy married life. You left home because of your selfishness, right? You troubled your parents till the end. And now you will try to ruin my family too. The chaos had been there from the start. I heard from Brandon how pitiful it is because you always say harsh things. He doesn't even have a moment of peace at home. That's why I've been comforting him. Don't say whatever you want. This is a problem within our family. So you're just not satisfying your husband, are you? A boring woman like you. I'm different in that respect. I'm satisfying him. That's why we've been going out for half a year now. You're lying. It's been since right after my father's funeral. Understand me, Jessica. I was at my limit too. You were always nagging me, and there was hardly any marital affection. We haven't even been intimate for over a year now, Brandon said, exposing our marital issues in front of my sister. Embarrassed to the point of tears, I shot back, the reason we couldn't stay as a couple was because of your womanizing. Have you forgotten your promise that you would never cheat again? And on top of that, how come it's with my sister? Besides, right after my father's funeral. Hey, stop belittling Brandon. He's not yours anymore, right, Brandon? My sister interjected, whispering something to him. He lifted his head, which had been lowered, and turned to me with determination. Now I was the one taken aback. Jessica, please divorce me. We're having a baby. What? You heard it. I'm pregnant now. Of course, the father is Brandon. We've been making love almost every week since then, and this belly is the fruit of that, my sister said, lovingly stroking her belly. I was left speechless. This was no accident but a deliberate act. From the start, my sister intended to steal my husband, and my husband also intended to end our marriage. That's why they didn't use contraception. They went out of their way to show me the baby in her belly. Too bad. You don't stand a chance. He's mine now. He's leaving you and marrying me, right, Brandon? Yeah, let's be happy together. No, the three of us with our baby. I will do my best. You've been dumped. Truly, my condolences. There goes your elegant lifestyle. From now on, that will be mine. My sister laughed. After her laughter echoed, I left the hotel room. To be honest, I don't remember how I made it home. I vomited 3 times in the toilet. As I rushed up my stomach acid, I couldn't stop crying. I was more upset about being betrayed than about losing my husband. My husband and sister trampled on my humanity. Moreover, they made use of the baby. I cried all night and greeted the morning with a drained body. From that day on, my husband did not come home. There was no doubt that he had moved in with my sister. Soon, he would probably come to pack up his things and bring divorce papers, along with the wedding ring we chose together 5 years ago. It was the worst day of my life. Nevertheless, I couldn't afford to take a day off from work. There were people who depended on me. Above all, now only my work was my anchor. Holding back nausea and tears, I gritted my teeth and headed to the workplace. A week later, while I was working as usual, my husband and sister showed up in front of me. I wasn't very surprised, but the two of them seemed quite shocked. My sister, sitting in a chair for patients and holding her belly, stared at me in astonishment as I stood there in my white coat. "Why are you here?" she asked. "Because this is the obstetrics and gynecology department, and I am on duty today." The doctor who usually examines you is off due to some circumstances. You were a doctor? But why? Brandon was supposed to be the doctor, my sister said, looking puzzled as she glanced between my husband and me. I found it funny and explained, "You must have misunderstood, sister. I am the one who is a doctor. I worked hard to get into medical school." But at the funeral, Brandon said he was a doctor. "You got yourself a highly educated husband," she replied. "I only said that if one person is a doctor, the salary will be decent. You misunderstood that." But Brandon said he was a doctor, she insisted. As my sister's gaze pierced him, my husband, who seemed to have come along as an escort, turned pale and began to stammer clumsy excuses like a fish washed up on the beach. "No, I was actually thinking of talking to you seriously, but then you mentioned getting pregnant. So you lied about being a doctor just to impress my sister and sleep with her. How pathetic. You're a low-paid salesman," I said. "Well, that's..." "What do you mean, low-paid? What about $1 million a month? We've already started looking at luxury apartments and even contacted a car dealer to get a car. I've already maxed out my credit card on designer bags and shoes," my sister interjected. "Why would you waste money like that? And why is Jessica even at this hospital? She's supposed to be working at a different hospital." "That's why I brought her here," my husband said, bewildered. "When I took time off for my father's funeral, the doctor from this hospital helped me out multiple times. Now she has a situation, so I'm returning the favor. I've been working hard even while you two were cheating on me," I explained. "Jessica, listen, this is the end of us. I'm fed up with you. Go ahead and divorce or remarry, but make sure to pay me alimony," I demanded. "Wait, Jessica. I was wrong. I'll change my ways this time. Let's forget about the divorce for now," my husband pleaded. "What are you saying? Remember when you cheated with that girl from your office? You promised me that if it happened again, you pay whatever amount of alimony I demanded," I reminded him, showing the written pledge I had taken a picture with my smartphone, complete with his signature and thumbprint. My husband let out a silent scream. "At least 5 million yen. No, considering it was right after my father's funeral, I could even add a bit more. I'll contact a good lawyer. You two can wait and tremble," I said firmly. "Wait, does that mean I have to pay alimony too? Are you going to demand it from me?" my sister asked, panicking. "Of course, that's what it means to steal your sister's husband. Don't worry, I'll give you a grace period until the baby is born. That's my moral obligation as an obstetrician. But make sure you pay up after the baby is born. I'll have you give up all your designer bags and shoes, and I'll add the funeral offering for my father. You'll apologize on your knees in front of his grave," I declared. I glared at my sister and walked away to start the regular examination. As soon as I instructed her to get on the bed, my sister fled the examination room, perhaps afraid of me wearing rubber gloves. My husband, who remained, seemed to want to say something, but he meekly retreated under the cold stares of the nurses. Thinking that I wouldn't have to see his face anymore, I felt truly liberated. Another half a year later, it seems my sister had a baby safely at a different obstetrics and gynecology clinic. Regardless of what my sister had done, the newborn baby was innocent. Knowing it was a healthy baby girl, I felt relieved deep down. But as for my sister herself, it's a different story. I don't feel a shred of pity for her. As I declared after the baby was born, I sent my sister a letter demanding alimony. The total was 5.3 million yen. Of course, 300,000 yen was for the condolence money for my father's funeral. I planned to deliver it to my mother. As for my husband, no, my ex-husband, life seems to be quite tough with the alimony he owes me. His workplace, due to the rumors of his affair, had no choice but to let him resign. It seems difficult for him to get rehired as a full-time employee. I heard he's juggling temp jobs now. As for who spread the rumors of the affair at his former workplace, I think it's best left unsaid. Furthermore, through the grapevine, I heard he hasn't gotten over his womanizing ways. He seems to be injuring my sister by hitting on any woman close at hand. At this rate, they seem like a suitable couple, and I feel truly refreshed being able to break up with my ex-husband. Now I'm dedicating myself to my work as an obstetrician. Today, 2 mothers to be with big bellies are waiting for my help. I'm sorry, I've got an amazing fiancé now. Are you jealous? Envious? Her once cute face now appeared distorted before me, not just to me but to my sister and her husband as well. They had always looked down on my husband. My anger reached its peak, surpassing the limit of my patience. "My name is Luna. I work at a printing company and I'm 27 years old. Although I work with printing, I'm not operating large machines. I work in the design department, crafting various flyers and catalogs while listening to customer requests. Recently, with the advancement of stylization, the number of prints has decreased, but the design work remains busy and rewarding. Thankfully, I have more customers requesting me specifically. The flyer for the recent Christmas event was a big hit. It was so cute. Such compliments truly make me happy. This job feels like a life purpose for me. I thought I would remain single, dedicating my life to work until one day my father was hospitalized for appendicitis. During a visit to see him, a young doctor named James approached me and asked, "Hello, are you here to visit someone?" It turns out he is my current boyfriend and recently became my fiancé. You never know when and where life will bring unexpected encounters. Despite being devoted to work, as soon as marriage was brought up, I found myself buying wedding magazines. I guess I'm also getting carried away, sitting in the living room flipping through a magazine while having tea. Then it happened, a hand suddenly reached out, snatching the magazine away. "Hey, wait a minute. What's this?" "A wedding magazine. Why are you looking at something like this?" "It has nothing to do with you, Mary," I said as my younger sister took the magazine from me. "You getting married? Seriously. Look in the mirror first, will you? You should know your place. You don't even have a boyfriend, let alone getting married." On the other hand, she continued, "I've never been without a boyfriend. Oh, speaking of which, my current boyfriend." Mary always had this habit of bragging about her boyfriend. Unlike me, with my plain face, my sister has always been cute and popular. People around her always indulged her, except for our parents and me. Everyone around her was always a yes man. As a result, my sister started thinking of herself as the center of the world. The arrogant sister I grew up with began looking down on me. "Stay away from me. Your face might drop off on me. No matter how much you study, what's that brain of yours? You won't catch a guy. Why don't you give up on pointless efforts?" Oh, I got asked that again. It's so tough being popular. I envy my sister, who doesn't get any attention at all. She would continue saying such things, even if our parents scolded her severely. It was already too late. Her personality remained unchanged, and the verbal abuse towards me never stopped. Growing up, my sister now refers to me as you. Tired of my sister bragging about her boyfriend, I sighed and mustered up the courage to speak. "I do have a boyfriend. In fact, we're engaged. We're getting married soon, so I'm looking at wedding magazines." My sister's movements abruptly stopped at those words. After staring at me intently, she smirked with a sarcastic smile. "Oh really? So you managed to find a guy. What's so great about you anyway?" "He likes my energetic and cheerful personality." "That's a lie. You're probably just being treated like a maid. I'll continue working, and he understands that I can't be a perfect housewife." As I said that, my sister exaggeratedly acted surprised. "Huh? You're getting married and still planning to work? How quaint, marrying a poor man." Her words struck a nerve. She just couldn't stop looking down on me. "Money is not an issue. He's a doctor, so there's no problem with income. I just want to continue working." As I retorted, my sister fell silent immediately. I sighed with relief and returned to my room. "Oh, a doctor, I see," my sister muttered those words with a meaningful tone. When marriage is on the table, the first thing to do is to meet with our parents. James came to my house. After greeting my parents, the relaxed atmosphere instantly changed the moment my sister appeared. "Oh, is that the person you're engaged to? Quite handsome, isn't he, Mary? Weren't you out?" I interjected. Of course, when my sister's fiancé is coming, I had to cancel my plans. Unbeknownst to her, I was relieved that she wasn't there by chance. It was because I had a bad feeling about it. It had happened several times in the past. When I was still a student, my sister stole my boyfriend. After becoming a working adult, I didn't have a boyfriend, and my sister kept making one after another, so such a thing didn't occur again. Although I felt uneasy about my sister coming back, she had grown up as well. I wanted to believe that she wouldn't do something like stealing my fiancé. My sister was oddly close to my fiancé. I couldn't help but notice a blush on James's cheeks. My bad feeling. Can we pretend that engagement never happened? "I've decided to break up with you and start dating Mary." My sister's words hit the mark perfectly. Never did I imagine that even as a working adult, my boyfriend would be stolen by my own sister. "I'm sorry I took your fiancé, but it can't be helped, right? After all, I'm cuter and more charming, and James' pursuit was so intense. Oh, being cute is such a crime, my sister's words, far from an apology, dripped with condescension. Beside her, James, once my fiancé, laughed and said, seriously, who would have known that you had such a cute sister? If I had known, I wouldn't have gotten engaged to you. It's a good thing we're breaking up before getting married. The moment I saw that twisted smile on his face, any feelings I had for him vanished without a trace. All that remained was a sense of disgust. I'm glad I didn't marry someone like you, a man who easily moves on to another woman. Here, take Mary as a parting gift. You're just a sore loser. Seriously, you're not attractive at all. I'm not saying this out of spite, but I genuinely mean it. It seemed that the two of them, lost in their own delusions, didn't understand how I felt. It's a waste of time being involved with you two. Goodbye. You're just making excuses for losing. You're the waste of time here. I never want to see you again. Goodbye. They left, looking down on me until the very end. After that, due to my enraged parents, they were banned from seeing our family, so I never met them again. However, I heard through rumors that they got married, but I don't really care anymore. 3 years had passed since I parted ways with my sister and her husband, and I turned 30 while diligently working as ever. In the midst of it, there was one customer who took a liking to my work and became a repeat client. His name was William. As we talked during work, for some reason, he asked me out for a meal, and then he asked me out on a date. On one of our dates, he asked me to be in a relationship with him. Honestly, I was really happy. William seemed very sincere, and I believed he wouldn't repeat the same mistakes as my previous boyfriend. But deep down, my sister had become quite a trauma for me. Maybe, just maybe, somewhere it bothered me a little. So, I decided to be honest and told him about my sister, about my former fiancé. I even showed him a picture of my sister and looked at his reaction. But even after seeing her photo, his expression didn't change at all. He casually glanced away from the photo and gave me a gentle smile. I know it might sound strange to say this, but I used to be quite popular. I've met many women who were cuter and more beautiful than your sister. But for some reason, none of them sparked my interest. I used to think that maybe I would remain single and unmarried for the rest of my life, but that wasn't the case. What do you mean? I asked, curious. I believe that due to my line of work, I have an eye for people. No matter how beautiful someone is or how well dressed they are, they can't match their inner beauty. I realized that when I met you, Luna. What do you mean? I stammered. I thought you were shining brightly, William said sincerely. When we talk about work, you're vibrant and beautiful. I thought you were wonderful, not just during work, but when we're having a meal or going on a date. You always smile and enjoy our time together. I could tell that you genuinely enjoy life, William confessed earnestly. And I thought you were dazzlingly beautiful. What? Wait, this is so embarrassing, I stuttered in my flustered state. But William continued, undeterred. Luna, you're beautiful, more beautiful and charming than anyone else. I've never met a more wonderful woman than you. Please consider being in a relationship with me, with marriage as a possibility. I truly mean it from the bottom of my heart. Stop, it's too embarrassing. I can't take it anymore. I blushed and tried to stop him. But William's words didn't cease. In the end, even after agreeing to date, he continued showering me with such heartfelt words for a while. So embarrassing, I thought to myself. 1 year later, William and I got married, becoming a happily married couple. Our newlywed life was going well, and I felt like we became even closer than before we got married. We shared household chores whenever we could. Since my husband had been living alone for a long time, he might be better at housework than me. His homemade meals when I was tired were incredibly delicious. On our days off, we often went out together. One day, on a day off when he said he wanted to look at furniture, something unexpected happened. It was the reunion with the devil that felt like a nightmare. Oh, well, I thought as I saw a plain-looking woman. It's you. I heard a voice from behind as I was looking at the bedding section. I didn't need to see her face to know who it was. Even though 4 years had passed since we last met, there was no way I could forget her. Mary, my sister, stood there, and beside her was my former fiancé, James. My sister's features seemed sharper than before. Was it due to age, or had her personality simply come to the forefront? Standing beside her, James wore a smirk, though it seemed he had lost weight. Meeting you here, huh? What are you doing? My sister asked, her tone dripping with condescension. Nothing special. I just came to look at furniture, I replied evenly. This place has a lot of imported goods and is expensive, you know. It's not a place for someone like you. I'm tired of your condescending attitude, James chimed in, stating beside her. Exactly. If someone like you keeps coming and going, it will lower the store's value. We might be mistaken for being poor too. Just go home already. Their rude remarks irritated me, but engaging with them would be a waste of time. I maintained my silence. However, it seemed my attitude didn't sit well with them as my sister and her husband's voices grew louder. I hate it. Our precious high-end store is ruined. Why would such poor people come here? They can't afford anything anyway. That's right, that's right. Poor people, go home, they continued loudly. Other customers and store employees glanced at us, wondering what was going on. Fed up, I took my husband's hand and tried to leave. But he didn't move. Finally noticing my husband's presence, my sister and her husband looked at him. Oh, what are you to her? My sister asked, her eyes widening. Luna's husband. Ha, can you marry this plain girl? Seriously, you're brave, James scoffed. Did you need a housemate or something? That's hilarious. I also do housework. It's only natural since we both work. I'm living comfortably as a full-time housewife. More than half of my week is spent eating out, and I rely on housekeeping services, I explained calmly. Sorry for being part of the winning team, my sister retorted with a sarcastic tone, stretching her words, which only fueled my frustration. She grinned at me. Sorry I stole your wonderful fiancé. Thanks to that, you'll have a poor life even after marriage, right? And to top it off, you're marrying such a plain guy. You two are a perfect match, both plain and unremarkable. Aren't you envious of my happiness? Jealous, aren't you? Haha, marrying a man who can't support his wife is just like you. You'll struggle for the rest of your life, losers. I had reached my limit. I could bear it when they spoke ill of me, but to speak ill of my husband as well? There was no way I could tolerate it. Listen, that's enough. I finally spoke up. Luna, it's fine. My husband stepped forward in front of me. Nice to meet you. I'm William, the one who married your sister. What a lame name, my sister sneered. Well, I understand, William replied calmly, handing his business card to James. As James took the offered card, my husband glanced at my sister-in-law. You say really mean things to Luna, don't you? Because they're true. I'm just abiding by the law that says I can call an ugly woman ugly. That's my law, my sister fired back. Such a law doesn't exist. And for me, you're much uglier than you think, William retorted calmly but firmly. Let's say it's the ugliness of your character. You seem to have confidence in your appearance, but you don't realize that your twisted personality, which can only look down on others, is reflected on the outside. While his tone remained polite, his words were quite harsh. My sister's face quickly turned bright red. Don't mess with me. How am I ugly? Everything about you is. In the first place, beautiful people don't envy their sisters and steal their fiancés, William countered. What? When did I envy my sister? My sister protested. People aspire to get close to and surpass their admired figures. Isn't Luna such a figure for you? That's ridiculous, William concluded firmly. I was surprised, not just by my husband's words, but also by my sister's reaction. I had never considered it that way before. My sister had always looked down on me, but seeing her unsettled, I started to wonder if there was a possibility. If it's someone who doesn't matter, someone you don't care about, you can just ignore them. Even if Luna brings any kind of partner, you shouldn't have thought of taking them away. After all, they are not someone you found yourself. Taking someone else's position stems from jealousy towards something you can't obtain, no matter how hard you try, my husband calmly stated. I'm saying I'm not jealous, my sister retorted defensively. By taking something away, you want to have that confidence that you are superior to the other person, right? In other words, you lack confidence. Confident people can live proudly without doing such things. That's not true. My sister desperately refuted, but her voice gradually lost strength. Breaking the momentary silence, James suddenly shouted loudly with a pale face, "This name." She alternated between looking at the business card and her husband's face, then shook her shoulders. What is it now? I asked. This name. I felt like I recognized it, so I looked it up. And, William Brown. So what? She trailed off, her expression turning uncertain. Where I work, huh? Hospital. If I remember correctly, it's Brown Medical Corporation. A chairman and director, Dr. Brown. He's their son. Huh? What? Mary's voice faltered. It's a common surname, so it must be someone else, right? James interjected nervously. I've seen him come to the hospital a few times, together with the chairman. I saw them from a distance, so I didn't remember it well. But when I thought I had seen him somewhere, he's supposed to be a doctor, right? The company name on that business card. It doesn't mean that a doctor's son has to become a doctor. And this company, it's a super famous pharmaceutical company. I think the previous generation retired, and the grandson took over, I speculated. Hello, I'm that grandson, a voice interrupted. Mary and James panicked, and my husband bowed politely. What? What did you say? Mary gasped. James faltered, his face pale. My husband calmly explained, I met Luna through the work I was doing until I took over my grandfather's job. I've heard about you, but it's beyond imagination how cruel you are. I interjected, my voice steady. Well, that, James stammered, shifting uncomfortably. My husband shifted his gaze from my speechless sister to James. A job of helping people requires empathy, but instead of showing empathy, you look down on and ridicule others. Who would want to be treated by a doctor like that? Oh, well, it's just a misunderstanding, James attempted to explain, his face growing even paler. However, in the next moment, my husband's eyes widened with anger. No need for excuses. I'll let my father know about you. Just wait for the consequences. James exclaimed, desperation evident in his voice, while my sister remained stunned. Ignoring their pleas, we turned our backs and left. I knew deep down that we would probably never see them again. With that thought in my heart, I continued walking, refusing to look back. After that incident, James didn't get fired, but he faced a significant pay cut and was removed from responsible tasks. His arrogant attitude towards others and his cold demeanor with patients led to him receiving cold stares from everyone around him. Eventually, unable to handle the situation, he quit his job, leaving under a cloud of rumors within the hospital community, which made it difficult for him to find new employment. He struggled with unemployment in the aftermath. As for my sister, it was revealed that she had always been reckless with money. Despite her high salary, her life became increasingly challenging. This stress visibly affected James, who began to look emaciated rather than just thin. In response to his pay cut, my sister quickly decided to divorce him, believing she could easily find another man. However, things didn't go as planned. When we met again, my sister's once cute face had hardened, revealing her true character. Her prime time for romantic relationships came to an abrupt end. Nobody wanted to be with her. Our parents later informed me that she had complained, I'm so cute, so why won't anyone spoil me? She became fixated on surpassing me, driven by some internal need to prove herself. My husband speculated that deep down, my sister actually admired me, though her actions were unforgivable. Eventually, she faced the consequences of her own choices, even being rejected by our parents when she sought their help. She disappeared into the nightlife, and we never heard of her again. Free from the curse of my sister and her husband, I enjoyed peaceful days, a calm married life, and a fulfilling job that ignited my passion every day. Soon, we would become a family of 3. As I gazed at the computer monitor, I gently rubbed my growing belly, filled with anticipation for the future. Hey Judy, what's wrong? It was a cold day, with Christmas songs playing everywhere in the city. I stopped to admire a tree ornament that caught my eye. My husband, his breath visible in the chilly air, turned his head to look at me from a few steps ahead. He smiled softly, his ears red from the cold. I adored the way he looked at me. Nothing. Let's go home and have dinner. I made hot stew for this especially cold day. Sounds great. Laughing, we held hands and walked down the street. From somewhere, a familiar Christmas song reached my ears. My name is Judy, and what I'm about to tell you is a rather strange Christmas miracle I experienced a few years ago, along with the story leading up to it. You're late. Before I could respond, my husband Dan's anger hit me like a wave. Where have you been? I just went to the closest deli, I replied. It was mid-December, and it felt like it was about to snow. His cuss words chased me out into the cold without my coat just a short time ago. Are you trying to fool me? I'm the breadwinner of this household. When I come home, I expect a proper dinner to be ready and served. Can't you even manage such an easy task? He scolded me harshly in front of the dinner table. No hot sauce? How come you're so lazy about it? There's no way to eat chicken wings without it. Don't mess with me. I had rushed out of the apartment with my wallet and came back with the hot sauce, gasping for breath. His irritation only grew. Deli? Are you crazy? Isn't it cheaper to buy at a supermarket? He pointed at the hot sauce and rolled his eyes. You have no sense of budgeting. I couldn't resist retorting, of course, I buy groceries at the supermarket, but it's far away. I told you earlier, I forgot to buy it today. Anyway, you get upset if the food gets cold. That's why I went to the closest shop. I did forget to add it to my shopping list and had run out. But I was sure the chicken wings tasted fine even without it. I didn't understand why he was so angry about it. His anger didn't cool down at all. Where's your apology? I did apologize earlier, didn't I? What's with your attitude? You're the one who. My retort added fuel to the fire, and he continued throwing his temper at me for another hour. Who wants such stale food now? In the end, he flipped the plate of chicken wings and went out to get dinner elsewhere. A few days later, I went to clean my parents' house, which was up for sale, and stopped by to visit an old lady in the neighborhood whom I called Grandma. Listen, Roma, your prediction was off for the first time. I didn't predict anything, Grandma, who had cared for me since I was a little girl, said, laughing ambiguously. No way. Everything you predicted since I was a kid came true. If they weren't predictions, then prophecies, I said with a wry smile. Remember when you told me not to go to the mall? There was a lightning strike, and it almost burnt down. Another time, you insisted I go out when I wanted to stay home, and my house got robbed. If I had been home, I would have faced the robber for sure. I still got chills remembering it. The robber was caught later with a knife in his pocket. What if I had been home that day? Grandma's predictions often came true, like she was a real prophet. Hey, Grandma. Yes. Even though she said it was all in my mind or just a coincidence, she listened when my voice became serious. I don't think I would have been prepared for my mom's illness if you hadn't told me. She was my only family, and you gave her peace of mind by telling her I'd be blessed with something special one Christmas not far away. My mom was relieved to know I'd have a bright future before she left me. She told me about it in her hospital bed, and it was a ray of hope for her. Seeing her content about it was a sign of her love for me. That's why when Dan proposed to me on Christmas Day, I thought it was just as you predicted. I met him through a mutual friend. He seemed like a humble and gentle guy back then. But once we got married, he turned into an arrogant husband. Just like the hot sauce incident, he got upset over trivial matters. He complained the food was too cold or the salad was too lukewarm, even though he was the one who let it sit while he played on his phone. He criticized everything I did, from cleaning the apartment to washing clothes. Nothing I did was up to his liking, which made me feel trapped and suffocated. I don't want to go back home to him, I whined to Grandma, feeling a sting in my nose. Now it's almost sunset. Don't you have to go back and cook dinner? She glanced at the sky and rushed me, though I was slow to move. Feeling softly rejected, I stood up lazily. You're going to be okay as long as you stand your ground. Even though you'll have struggles, you're going to be happy one day. You'll have a Christmas that will make you jump up and down in joy. So just live straight and truthfully. God is watching. I quickly turned around at her words that softened my heavy heart. Is it a prophecy? Let's see. I'm just an old woman, she said with another ambiguous smile, baffling me. Let's see if I put more effort. Dan might change. I tried to shift my mood, thinking it might have been too early to judge her original prediction. But then it was dinner, massages, ironing his shirt. Dan's hostility toward me only got worse. It wasn't even a year since we got married, but it became normal for him to order me around. Instead of a single kind word, he was constantly grumpy and overbearing. Who do you think you are? He snapped at me one night. What did I do? You don't have the decency to welcome me back home. Who do you think you were to hang around outside until now? I have to warm up my food in a microwave. God darn you. His menace made me sigh. I told you, right? I had a co-op meeting tonight. I even left a note on the table for you. Shut up. That's not an excuse for lazy cooking. What do you mean? I didn't cut corners. I prepared the main dish and sides as usual. If it's not freshly cooked, it's called cutting corners. His logic was messed up. I should be prioritized before anyone and anything. I've been feeding you. You're my wife. You must obey me. That's crazy, I said, stunned by his incomprehensible demand. You have no family and relatives and can't live on your own. A scum like you should shut up and just worship me. If you can't, I'll divorce you, he smirked. It seemed to me that he was releasing his stress by making me obey him. Anyway, give me a foot massage. I tried my best to restrain myself from snapping back at him. He would just become angrier anyway. Most of all, I had nowhere to go in the midst of sleet at night. So I sat down on the floor to give him the massage. My life continued like this until one day, I fainted from excruciating pain in the middle of grocery shopping and was taken to the hospital by ambulance. I don't understand, I murmured, my mind going blank as my doctor explained my condition. This virus is transmitted by sexual intercourse. I had your husband tested as well, and both of you have it. You didn't realize it because there were no symptoms. As far as I can tell, you need surgery. I'm very sorry to say this, but I think the chance of conceiving in the future seems extremely unlikely. Dan followed the doctor hurriedly as he left. I can't have a baby, I repeated to myself. As I absorbed the news, my blank mind slowly filled with darkness. I needed to know more. I tried to follow my doctor and Dan on wobbly legs. Wait, doctor, Dan. But I froze when I heard their conversation. So must everyone out there get tested? Exactly. They must be treated all at once. Otherwise, there's no point. It keeps coming back to you. Would they know what the test is for? Of course, my doctor replied, growing irritated. Listening with despair, I realized the bottom line. Dan had at least 3 girlfriends and was still seeing them. I complained to a picture of my mom in an empty room. I had hoped, even though he's not a good husband now, he might change once we have a baby. I kept Grandma's words about eventual happiness like a good luck charm. But I guess I was wrong. In fact, Dan seemed to only care about his own health. He was diligent about his condition but never showed any concern for me. Having lost my parents, I had a strong longing to have my own baby. I hoped for a happy family with a husband, children, and me. Tears rained down on the picture of my mom in my hands. Mom, I sobbed, covering my mouth with my fingers. Suddenly, Dan appeared. What are you wasting your time for? You haven't prepared dinner yet. Here are the divorce papers. This is your punishment for neglecting your master and making a fuss. He noisily entered the room and threw the papers at my head as I sat down. You are irritatingly depressing. I'm ready to divorce you anytime, no problem for me. You are the one who's going to be in trouble, right? Instead of slacking, do your duty if you don't want a divorce. I'm not slacking. Oh wait, there's one more punishment. I'm not giving you living expenses this month. He looked happy, smirking as he came closer. I'm giving you a chance to reflect and change your attitude. Know your place. If you disobey me, a divorce. When he finished his tirade, he left the room looking refreshed. I stared at the divorce papers, feeling my emotions cool down. Mom, I've decided. Wiping my tears from the picture frame, I spoke to my smiling mother. Watch over me. I kept quiet and continued living with Dan for a while. He treated me like a servant and took out his fits of anger on me. I argued back occasionally but mostly passed the days in silence. One day, during another tantrum over cold stew and lukewarm salad, I sighed internally and decided to act on my plan. If I don't obey you, you're getting a divorce, right? Right. If you don't want me to leave you, reflect on your stupidity, he sneered, leaning back in his chair. You're a bit weak upstairs, aren't you? What the? He fluttered his eyes in surprise at my reply. What did you just say? You repeat the same thing every time. Do you know what vocabulary is? You only utter the word divorce over and over. Your lack of vocabulary is quite sad. What the heck? Let's get a divorce. It's totally fine with me. I'll be a stranger to you, just as you wish. What the? Are you serious? I smiled and said my farewell. His mouth hung open, and he even forgot to get angry as usual. I've already moved all my necessary things out of here. If there's anything you don't need, just throw it away. Goodbye. I shuffled off the apron I had bought and left. When I got married, I folded the apron lightly, placed it gently in front of Dan, and put the house keys on top of it. I looked at him one last time, then left the house with my pre-packed suitcase. What the heck is going on? He yelled, snapping out of his confusion. I could care less. Yay, I'm free, I thought, pretending not to hear anything. With a refreshed feeling, I made my way lightly to my parents' house where I decided to live again. A year later, the divorce was finalized, yet Dan continued contacting me. You were sorry, weren't you? I'll take you back if you apologize. A wife should. His texts were relentless. But I turned off notifications and ignored them, something I'd never done during our marriage. After much persistence from him, I decided to have a final face-to-face meeting at his parents' house. "Why have you been ignoring me?" Dan asked sensibly, trying to behave in front of his parents. "I've been texting you all this time, but you never replied once." "Oh yeah, I turned off notifications from you." "Why?" "It was too annoying." "Me? Annoying?" "Yes, you. So what do you want to talk about?" His face slowly turned red with anger as I answered in a deliberately annoyed manner. "What's with your attitude in front of my parents? What the heck is wrong with you?" He finally shouted louder, but then remembered where he was and uttered an apology that he had never made in our marriage. I thought to myself, wow, amazing. He knows how to apologize. I tried my best to resist the urge to make fun of it and prompted him onward. "What do you need to talk to your ex-wife about?" "Hold on, why are you acting so strange? Aren't you struggling after the divorce? How are you living now?" He sounded concerned, yet he never came to check on me even though he knew where I was. "I didn't mind getting back together if that's what you want. Doesn't that make you happy?" he asked. Not at all. I almost laughed at his overconfidence. It doesn't make me happy and doesn't help me in any way. I'm making enough income to support myself. Besides, the living expenses you gave me were only $500 a month. It wasn't enough for what we needed. I mean, you're the one struggling to manage without me, right? The cost I was covering for you is gone, and I'm much more comfortable being alone now. I don't understand the point of getting back together after being free." Puzzled by my casual attitude, he remained unsettled in front of his parents. "Listen, Dan, stop acting like a kid who got caught doing mischief and calm down. There's no point in trying to make yourself look good. They know all your secrets." "What secrets?" I sighed and decided to reveal the truth. "You're mistaken about me. I wasn't just a housewife. I told you that I used to live abroad because of my late father's work, right? I used the German I learned back then to translate at home. There were many materials on the bookshelves, you know. I didn't care for those. Those were materials and manuscripts before translation. You never touched them since you had no interest, right? Thanks to that, I was able to hide some equipment to record you." "Wait." He was stunned by the word recording. It was his father who presented the evidence. "See, all your secrets, like how you used to treat me, are out now. Your parents were in tears watching this and apologized to me. They are ashamed to have raised a son who treated me horribly." Well, being under the spotlight almost made him run for the hills, but his mother grabbed him and made him sit again. She signaled me with her eyes, and I pulled out the papers. "These are copies of our divorce papers. There are parts marked with a red circle, which I pointed out to Dan. You know them, don't you?" No way. It was understandable for him to be in shock. What I pointed to were the witness signatures, names of people he knew very well. "Actually, there wasn't enough space. You had more than 2 girlfriends, right?" "Wait a sec." No more waiting. Before I could continue, a resentful voice echoed. "You never told us about the STD. We only had a relationship with you. That means you brought it in from somewhere else, didn't you?" "What am I? A fling? Didn't you say we'd get married one day?" "That's a statement only a bachelor should say." "Oh no. We watched the video too. You are a villain, not only to us but to all women. You are the #1 public enemy. You are finished." Surrounded by his girlfriends, Dan crumbled to the floor. His parents sighed exaggeratedly. I had a private detective look into his girlfriends and secretly contacted them. Of course, I had told my ex-in-laws the whole story too. The result was this chaos. "Your game is up now." There was a strong request from his parents that their son needed punishment. All his girlfriends and I demanded compensation from him. He worked for a company owned by a family member of his mother, so the payments were deducted from his payroll to prevent him from escaping. He was forcibly taken back to his parents' home and under their strict supervision faced a long period of compensation payments. 6 years have passed since then. "Hey Judy, what's wrong?" It's a cold day when Christmas songs play everywhere in the city. I stopped to look at a tree ornament that caught my eye. My husband, whose white breath clings in the air, turns his head to look at me from a few steps ahead. He's smiling softly, his ears red from the cold. The little girl in his arms also has rosy cheeks. I adore them so much. "Grandma's prediction is actually amazing," I murmured, My current husband is surprisingly the brother of one of Dan's girlfriends. I hit it off with the girlfriends afterward and sometimes hang out with them. I met him by chance, and he gently soothed my depression. It's really a strange story. If it wasn't for what happened with Dan, I'm sure I wouldn't have met my current husband. So that's what Grandma meant when she said I'd struggle but be happy, I mused. Once again, I was amazed by Grandma's prediction. Moreover, after we got married, I got pregnant, which was said to be extremely unlikely. I remember getting sick on Christmas Day and being rushed to the emergency room, where the doctor indicated I was pregnant. I was literally jumping up and down with my husband, and the annoyed nurse scolded us to keep calm and rest. It was a true Christmas miracle. This time of year makes me reflect deeply. I've been hurt a lot by Dan, but now I'm so happy. Mommy, I came out of my thoughts when my daughter left my husband's arms and clung to me in her fuzzy coat. Nothing. Let's go home and have dinner. It's hot stew for an especially cold day. I've already prepared it. Sounds great, yay. Laughing, we held hands and walked down the street. From somewhere, a familiar Christmas song reached my ears.